Hi, Dina.
Hey, Dean.
I
Nice to
don't
see
know why I laugh at the beginning of so many podcasts. I just like being here. I think. Hello, welcome. Okay, Dina. So let's talk about the hypothetical that the entire podcast is based on. Welcome to episode 107. I think this is 110. Um, okay, so you've just started a brand new client engagement. Like the client's new to you, the project's new to you. Today's day one of this new engagement is going to last a year, relatively long for a fractional CMO, right? Engagement, especially a first one, but it's going to be a year long. Today's day one. Tell folks a little bit about you and then talk about what you normally see or experience or uncover or problems you find or things you try to do. What's sort of like the first 90 days like in 3 minutes or less?
you. Okay.
Uh,
Well, first, thanks for having me. I appreciate
yeah.
it. So, about me, I started Insight Creative 24 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I started out as a marketing and graphic design firm, but then quickly pivoted to more of a marketing advisory firm. And then about 15 years ago, repositioned as a fractional CMO. So we help businesses and organizations with their marketing strategy and offer all the things that a Fortune 500 CMO would do, but at a fraction of the time and cost that goes into it. As far as day one goes, so depending on the size of the organization, uh, we'll gather up the team, primarily those in the C-suite, and get them talking. And while I have some facilitated questions that I go through, I find that just letting them get things off their chest and take copious notes, and these days with recordings is helpful.
Right.
But let them riff a little bit. Uh, and then I'll go back afterward and dig into what those primary pain points are. But the biggest thing that we'll do within the really the first week is I'll have them do a DIY self evaluation of
Mm,
all of the omni-channel touch points
right.
in the marketing toolkit, and also strategy questions and business questions. And I'll say on a scale of 1 to 5, and I'll have them evaluate it. So that sets benchmarks out of the beginning, out of the onset. And so it's not me coming in saying you should. It's more about assess,
Yeah.
and that also helps down the road as we continue to progress, and they're looking at ROI and other things.
All right. All right. Excellent. So, Alexander, hi.
Hi, Dee.
Okay. So, same scenario. Tell folks who you are and then talk about what you normally observe with your clients because, there's a lot of variety in fractional CMOs, right? For your clients, what do you normally observe? Like, what problems do they typically have? And then what do you try to sort of accomplish in the first 90 days when you start a new engagement?
I'm Alexander Ferenczi. I'm a fractional CMO, and I work with service-based businesses who want to grow their revenue and use digital marketing to do it. So
Mhm.
advertising on social networks, advertising on search engines, and pretty much anywhere that's not one of those two. I started in all this by working for Gary Vee and VaynerMedia. A lot of people have heard of Gary Vee, and I branched out from there. A fractional CMO is a strategic leader who operates as a part-time executive, bringing high-level marketing expertise without the full-time commitment or cost of a traditional CMO. In the first 90 days, my focus is on diagnosis and strategy implementation. So essentially, those first 90 days get broken down into 3 different phases.
Right.
Phase one, running for the first 30 days, I call it the discovery phase. This is where I dive deep into understanding the business, the market, the competitive landscape, the existing marketing efforts, and I audit everything: customer data, messaging, campaigns, and results. This is also where I build relationships with the internal teams and key stakeholders because it's really easy to create enemies. It's a lot harder to create allies. So in those first 30 days, I'm trying to create alliances with everybody internal to understand what actually is happening, because at times people can be reserved and not want to share the actual fire that's inside their basement. The next 30 days, running from day 30 to 60, I call this the strategy development. So after gathering those insights, I start mapping out the strategic plan. This includes setting clear marketing objectives, refining the messaging, and aligning marketing with sales, which is vital. We prioritize a quick win here and a long-term initiative that is actually going to drive the business growth forward. And then to the last phase of those 90 days is the execution kickoff. So now this is where all the new innovative sort of implementation starts. I work closely with the marketing team to execute the strategic plan. And it's about setting things in motion, ensuring the right KPIs are in place, and creating momentum that's going to carry us through the rest of the engagement itself.
Okay, so then let's imagine that I'm the CEO at your new client, okay? And it's your first day, and I sort of like, we get a few minutes across the little table, and I say, okay, Alexander, so we've never really had like a CMO or C level person in marketing, right? And so you're kind of the first, and so you tell me, right, as CMO, new CMO to the CEO, you tell me what can I expect to see in the first 90 days or at the end of the first 90 days, and what should I do or not do or stop doing so that none of your like achievements or strengths are muted.
Yeah. To get maximum value, full collaboration and trust are key. We need to have clear communication, and you need to share your business goals and challenges openly with me. Treat me as part of your leadership team. Additionally, staying committed to the plan and being open to testing and adapting as we go is crucial. It's also going to be important to empower the internal team to take ownership of their roles while allowing me to guide them strategically. When we're aligned, we can focus on driving growth and not just incremental improvements. But in terms of setting clear expectations from day one, it's to get you 3 quick wins within that first quarter of engagement, and then establishing the real sort of momentum path that's going to carry us out through the next 2 quarters.
Okay. What is there anything that I should not be doing or should be doing for you?
Yeah, what you should not be doing is micromanaging and sort of correcting anything that is trying to get approved.
I certainly never
It's
saw that coming. Never saw
Yeah,
that.
to use sort of an analogy, it's you wouldn't hire an interior designer
Yeah.
to work on your home, office, residence, or vacation home, but then limit them to say you can only move things in this type of a direction. So you got to give the interior designer sort of the vision, the color palette, the tones, the vibe or aesthetic you are looking for, and then you allow that professional expert to build it for you. So
Very
we
nice.
will definitely, setting up that clear expectation from the day one is vital, because then it ensures that we essentially have our brand style guide for your organization to make sure everything is on brand. But
Right.
then from there, you have to allow us to sort of give us the rope and let us either swing with the rope or hang with the rope. But you have to give that rope.
All right. So Dina, kind of the same question, but I'm going to invert it. All right. So we're sitting across that little table in the little break room or something. I say hi, and then I say, so like, this is the first time I've ever had and hired and allocated spend for any kind of CMO, especially a fractional one. So like, but you've worked with lots of companies. How do other CEOs tend to waste the money that they've allocated for their fractional CMO?
Well, I think other companies that have wasted it, or in the 24 years that we've been doing things along
Mhm.
those lines, the maybe 3 to 5 times that we've had to say, you know what, this is not going down the right path. I think you need something different, or we've had other conversations. Has to do with them not being all in
Mhm.
on the process. Um, and I would say that it really starts with a proposal and also the decision makers. So our proposals are very detailed. I think as a fractional CMO, sometimes people will be a bit too abstract. We're going to advise, we're going to strategize. And those are ethereal words that don't mean a lot to people who don't get what that means in marketing. And so it starts with a proposal. It also starts with walking people through, the decision makers, the C-suite, through it, and making sure they understand what the deliverables are going to be. Um, that contributes to the
Right.
value. And if they uh, don't seem to stay engaged, they don't get vested interest, and also let the rest of their leadership team, as well as the rest of the company, know what's going on and the role that we play, then they're not going to get the full impact from it, because there's not going to be full buy-in. It really needs to be, everybody on the bus.
So I'm still the CEO then. Um, we've never really had a CMO type person here before, but there's a marketing team. There's like staffers there. There's been like supervision, maybe even management, right? I'm looking at them today on day one. I'm thinking about them at the end of 12 months when this engagement, could wind down. How's that team going to be different today versus 12 months from now when you exit?
Yeah, they're going to be a lot smarter and a lot more tenacious, focused, clear. I think clear is the big one because most of the clients that we work with, they do have a onesie, twosie, threesie people in the marketing department
Right.
doing marketing stuff, but seldom do they have a marketing leader that can really help mentor and guide them. And they have some skill sets, but they might be called on to tap into things that they're not that great at. And so we've had instances where employers are looking at saying, so and so, I don't think they're pulling their weight. And we look and we say, you know what? Well, it's because you've got them doing something that they're not good at or not comfortable at. But you know what? They really excel over here. So it's really about getting the right butts and seats. And so I also tell folks on day one, I'm not here to replace you. I am here to help support you and guide you and be a sounding board for you. I am going to give some tough love, but know going in that it's all because we're all trying to move the needle in the same direction.
Right. And Alexander, how about you? How's my marketing team going to look or be different or better or worse or rebalanced inside and outside at the end of this 12 months that I brought you in for?
Yeah. So I think the added value of having a fractional CMO versus sort of an outsourced agency is the ability to not only create but foster institutional knowledge on the topic. So when you don't have a leader on the ship that's driving your existing team, it's you're trying to squeeze the lemon juice out of the lemon, but you're not using the most efficient way of getting every ounce out of it. So when people are sort of in a direction that they don't understand where they're going, it really demotivates them. So by hiring fractional CMO, myself into your organization, not only are we going to keep your team members internally accountable for the actual goals that they're going to have to accomplish, but they're going to have the tools now to be able to be equipped to take on these challenges.
Right.
So really what happens, and I think it's the origin of most sort of emotions such as hate, is the lack of understanding. When you can't understand something, that's when you tend to hate it. That's why students tend to hate mathematics or hate science. It's because they don't understand how to be successful in that subject. So as we equip your team with the tools and knowledge to be able to tackle these obstacles, not only will they be motivated, but they will be sort of looking forward to taking on these challenges because now they have the toolkit to be able to build something better.
All right, Alexander, I'm going to ask you a very simple 5-word question. It's fill in the blank. So you
Okay.
just fill in the blank at the end of what I say. It's so simple. It's so easy, right? Many clients just don't understand what?
Marketing. I was gonna say, I mean, it's marketing, but really, it's not just the subject of marketing. I would say it's the expectation of what marketing does at the speed and velocity that that expectation is set at, right? So, marketing is not a magic bullet. It's a process that takes time, testing, and iteration. There's often this expectation that marketing is going to deliver results instantly, but the truth is that real growth comes from a long-term consistency and adaptability. And another key point to make here is that marketing just isn't about attracting new customers. It's about building relationships, nurturing them, and turning them into loyal advocates for your brand. So, a framework that we use to sort of create a flywheel for our partners is capture, nurture, close, and most people will stop there. We then try to evangelize and reactivate. So, making existing customers become evangelists of your brand, spreading it through word of mouth, reviews, testimonials, and then being able to reactivate them through email or SMS to get them to drive repeat purchases. A lot of times, most businesses can be seen as a commodity. So the only way to stand out as a service provider is essentially to have incredible customer service and an incredible brand experience. And then from there, they choose to continue with your commoditized service.
Okay. And Dina, what do you think? Many clients just don't understand what?
Brand value.
You know?
Say, some of them think of it as a soft vanity metric or something along those lines. And so they don't necessarily understand what all goes into building brand value. So for companies and organizations that are looking to grow, expand, or potentially migrate to an ESOP or be acquired, they don't have the foundation in place to do that, or if they want to franchise or something like that. So we get in and we help them understand the vernacular around marketing, but business and the role that marketing plays in business and building brand value. Without that, they are creating new logos for logo's sake, and they're redesigning websites for website's sake, and they're talking about different metrics and KPIs and throwing around all the different acronyms in the marketing toolkit. But with all of that, it really doesn't add up to much if you don't know where you're headed and what you're trying to achieve, and how you're trying to build that value.
Okay, so here's my other fill-in. There's only 2 fill-in-the-blank questions. Here's the other fill-in-the-blank question. You guys have been fractional CMOs for quite a while, right? So new fractional CMOs probably don't understand what, Dina?
I would say new fractional CMOs probably don't understand the boundaries between strategizing and advising and doing and implementing. Everybody has a different model around that. But I would say perhaps even more than that is that as much as they love you and as much as you're kicking butt on getting results and all of those things, you are fractional. And even if they invite you to events and you're on site periodically and those things, you're an outsider. And so it's important to understand those boundaries as well and respect them, acknowledge them. They're not your friends, they're your clients, you're advising them. And just make sure that you are clear on that relationship for your sake as well as theirs.
And Alexander, how about you? New fractional CMOs probably don't understand what?
I would use the word balance. So the biggest challenge for many fractional CMOs is finding the balance between being the strategic leader and not being physically present every single day at the organization. It requires a high level of discipline where the organization, a high level of discipline for yourself and the organization to keep multiple clients and keep things moving forward without getting bogged down into the details of the actual execution. It's important to sort of set those clear boundaries and expectations from the start, both for yourself and your client partners, but you're not there to be a part-time marketer. You're there to provide strategic leadership, and getting that right makes all the difference. I feel a lot of times fractional CMOs come initially from the world of doing, and now you are leading. So allowing other people to lead and respecting your time where you have to empower these individuals to actually take the action. You are there to be the sort of captain of the ship, but you're not, tying up ropes, making sure the sail is there, the anchor's there. You're prepping everything beforehand, and then you're empowering a team to be able to actually execute.
Okay, so thank you. That's an excellent answer. So 2 parts to sort of transition this out as we wind down the episode. Okay, so Alexander, part of the for me, fun and energy of the podcast is that there are typically 2 guests, and it's people are paired randomly. Like we don't select and say, "Oh, that'd be a good match." Like it's completely random who you end up with, right? Kind of like you just walked into an elevator that had a bunch of fractional CMOs in the building, and one other fractional CMO happens to be in the elevator, right? And you've got a shot there to ask a question. So I'm going to ask you in a second, who should contact you and how should they get to you. But let's give Dina a moment to dwell on the question you're going to answer. If you could ask Dina or a typical fractional CMO, any question about being a fractional CMO or clients or whatever, right? What would you ask?
This is me asking Alex.
No, he's going to ask you, and then he's going to tell us who should be contacting him.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So my question is, what has been your biggest challenge as a fractional CMO, and how have you adapted your approach to overcome it?
Okay, so Alexander, while we give, because we sprung it on her, she had no idea that question was coming, right? Who should be contacting you these days, Alexander, and like how should they get in touch with you? What's the preferred way?
Yeah, so I work with service-based businesses that are looking to grow their revenue and
Right.
use digital marketing and channels to do so. So anyone that's in local service, anything from white collar, accountant, lawyer, to even the medical world, as chiropractor, dentist, orthodontist, all the way down to landscaping, roofing, HVAC companies, anyone that is in a local service and is looking to become sort of that local hero in their market. The way that they can contact us is at avocazi.com. And then from there, we actually have a free marketing growth audit offer going on right now. So anybody that's looking to just get a free audit on how their sort of online presence is looking at the current time, feel free to visit our website, submit it, no strings attached, completely free, no call forced, anything like that, just a free audit. So
Sure.
jump on the site and get your free marketing audit.
Okay, excellent. Well done. So, Dina, any thoughts on the question? And you're going to get to ask him a question too. So
All right. Let's see. Well, he had asked me what challenges, the biggest challenge and how I overcame them. So 24 years, there's several challenges along the way. So one that comes to mind, I would say that happens a lot is there are a lot of players already in the mix, some internal players, some transition. So there's a new chief operating officer coming in. There's a new director of sales coming in. We've just acquired a bunch of new people, and there's this blend of cultures happening. They've adopted EOS or some other model. There's all of these different moving parts, and then I'm new into the game too. And so I would say the challenge there, to make an analogy, is that you've got people speaking English, Spanish, and Dutch. And so it's like, who's going to translate all of this? And so probably one of the biggest compliments that I've received is that I'm able to come in and understand very complex situations and distill them down into their simplest parts and get people moving in the right direction. So I would say that's pretty much what I do, and that's how I help overcome challenges, as I'm the connective tissue between different departments and different scenarios, and then bringing them all together so that we're all figuring out where our lanes are, but that we're working collaboratively as well.
comes down to people, I guess.
Usually does.
Yeah.
People and behaviors for sure.
So you've also been paired with a random CMO, right? Fractional CMO. Like, what question? Let's ask Alexander like your question, and then while he's mulling it over, talk about who should be contacting you these days and how they should get to you.
Okay, super. Let's see. So Alexander, if you had to go back and work for one company full time in their office, 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, could you do it? And how would you approach it?
And then, Dina, who should be contacting you these days? We'll give him a moment to answer that.
Sure. So at Insight Creative, we're the best fit for people who either don't have a marketing department at all, or they don't have senior level leadership in that marketing department. We work with manufacturers, and we have a strange niche in funeral services and cremation services.
Okay.
And so really industries that tend to be overlooked aren't usually the most common ones that marketers and CMOs are tapping into. That's the gap that we fill. And I can be reached at Dina, Dina, at insightcmo.com.
All right. And Alexander, what's the answer? Who would you go back into corporate for?
Yeah. I don't know. I'll answer the question with where I would work.
Cringing
I
even
don't.
by thinking about it. Go for it.
Yeah. It's really difficult, but I don't think it'd be a corporate job that I would go back to. But I would go back into, if I had to be 5 days a week,
Sure.
I would go back to being in a summer camp. I used to work at a summer camp as a counselor, and then from there, sort of, rise through the ranks of being general counselor to eventually group director and then regional director and things of that nature. So I think if I had to sort of leave the marketing world and go back to a full-time job, outside of being a fractional CMO, it would be working with the youth and in summer camps, really, because at least there, it's still an educational component. Right now, I'm sort of educating organizations and business leaders on the best way to move forward. And I think being able to work with the youth and help educate them on what is possible in the future. And really, there is a lot of marketing that still takes place when you work with youth programming in that aspect, where you need to communicate to everybody, right? So if you have a bunk full of 12-year-old boys, how do you community manage that situation? How do you motivate people to overcome their fears and do the zip line or swim in the lake? So if I had to do something outside of my current scope, I would go back to working in summer camps.
All right. All right. Thank you both. This has been fantastic. I loved it. Thanks both for being here. Thank you, Alexander. Thank you, Dina.
Thank
And
you.
great name, by the way. My sister's name's Dina.
Ah,
My mother wasn't particularly imaginative, and so it's just how it went. And so thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. You're probably watching it in a clip. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you in the next episode, which would be probably 108. Thanks, everyone. Bye.